I am 84 years old, and there are faces I still see when I close my eyes at night. Not the faces of people who wronged me, not the faces of enemies or strangers, the faces of friends, people I chose at some point to stop choosing. And I cannot tell you exactly when it happened or why, because that is the most honest and painful part of it. There was no reason. That is what I have to live with. I want to tell you about that, not because it will make me feel better. I am past the point of looking for comfort. I am telling you because I am 84 years old, and I do not have the luxury of pretending anymore. When you are young, friendship feels permanent. It feels like weather. It is just there. You do not think about maintaining it any more than you think about maintaining the air you breathe. I had friends in my 20s who knew everything about me, men I grew up with, a woman named Clara I met in my first year of work, who made me laugh harder than anyone before or since, a man named Robert who lived 2 streets away from me for almost a decade, who I saw nearly every week for years. These were not casual acquaintances. These were people who sat at my kitchen table, people who called me when something went wrong in their lives, people I called too. I had a good life by most measures. I married, I worked hard, I had children, I built things. And without noticing, without any single decision I can point to, I let all of those friendships go quiet. It did not happen at once. That is what I want you to understand. It was not a falling out. There was no argument, no betrayal, no dramatic ending to most of those relationships. They simply thinned like fabric that gets worn down, not from one hard pull, but from years of ordinary friction. A missed phone call here, a declined invitation there, a letter I meant to write and never did, months that became years, that became a silence so long it started to feel irreversible. And eventually it was. I told myself, the way we all do, that there would be time, that I would reach out when things slowed down, when the children were older, when work was less demanding, when I had something worth saying. I kept the idea of those friendships like objects in a drawer I never opened. Knowing they were there was enough, I thought. It was not enough. Robert moved away in my early 40s. We shook hands on his porch the day he left, and I said we would visit. I meant it. I genuinely meant it. We exchanged a few letters over the first year, then less, then a card at Christmas, then nothing. I heard through someone, maybe 15 years later, that he had died. Heart attack. He was 63. I sat with that news for a long time. Not grief, exactly. Something worse than grief. Grief is for people who were present for the loss. What I felt was closer to shame. He had died, and I had not even known he was ill. I had not been close enough to him for years to know anything about his life. That is not something you recover from easily. Clara? I let go even earlier. She moved to another city when we were both in our mid-30s. We stayed in touch sporadically for a while. She was funny in her letters, the same way she had been in person. I can still remember one letter she sent that made me laugh out loud. I have no idea where that letter is now. I meant to call her for years. By the time I finally did, many years later, the number was no longer hers. I never found another way to reach her. I never looked very hard, if I am honest. There were others. Men from my childhood neighborhood. A couple my wife and I used to spend time with when we were first married. A colleague who became, for a few years, one of the people I most looked forward to seeing. Each one of them drifted. Each one of them let go too, I suppose. I am not placing all of this on myself, but I know what my part was. My part was choosing other things. Work. Quiet evenings at home. The comfortable routine of a life that had already been built. I chose rest over reach. I chose the familiar over the effort of maintaining something that required tending. Friendship requires tending. Nobody told me that clearly enough when I was young, or maybe they did and I did not listen. It is a living thing. It needs contact. It needs honesty. It needs you to show up even when nothing is wrong, especially when nothing is wrong, because that is how you make it strong enough to survive when something is wrong. I did not do that. And now I am 84 years old and I live in a house that is too quiet. My children visit, I love them, but they have their own lives as they should. My wife died 6 years ago, and that grief I do know properly. We were together for 51 years. After she died, I understood, truly understood for the first time, what it would have meant to have old friends nearby. People who knew me before I became whoever I became. People who remembered the person I was at 25. There is something irreplaceable about being known across time. My wife had that with me and I had it with her. Outside of her, I had let every other version of that kind of knowing disappear. I tried in my late 70s to reconnect with a few people. It was not the same. It cannot be the same. There is a tenderness in old friendship that cannot be reconstructed. You cannot rebuild 40 years of shared history by meeting for lunch at 78. You can be kind to each other. You can have a pleasant afternoon. But the thing that was there, the deep familiarity, the shorthand, the ease of being truly known, that is gone. You cannot grow it back in the time that remains. I am not telling you that you will make the same mistakes I made. Maybe you will not. Maybe you are already more careful than I was. But if you have someone in your life right now, a friend you have been meaning to call, a person you think about sometimes, and then get busy and forget, someone you care about but have not actually spoken to in months or years, I want you to understand what I understand now. That distance becomes permanent faster than you think, that people die, that people move and lose numbers and change their lives and stop waiting, that the window does not stay open forever just because you intend to open it. I am not asking you to reorganize your life. I am not saying friendships are more important than everything else. I am only saying that I did not know how much I would miss them. I did not know that I would be sitting here at this age, in this quiet, thinking about people I have not seen in 30 or 40 years, and wishing I had done one simple thing differently, wishing I had picked up the phone, wishing I had gotten in the car, wishing I had written the letter, instead of just thinking about writing it. The faces I see when I close my eyes at night, those are not ghosts. They are just people who were real to me once, and who I let become strangers by doing nothing, by simply not choosing them over and over until not choosing them became the permanent answer. I do not have many regrets about my life. I had a decent life. I worked. I loved. I tried. But this one stays with me. This one does not get easier with time. If any part of this sounds familiar to you, that is the only thing I wanted to say.